Yeah, they looking crazy. They looking real crazy out here that anybody but Shedeur Mafia is not happy about this one. The official word came in on Brendan Sorsby. There won't even be a damn supplemental draft. There won't even be a supplemental draft. Y'all was all in on this Brendan Sorsby thing when none of y'all had even watched him play. We got to get all into it, man. Anthony Lima, you're one of the main people. You gonna look like a damn fool.
Let's go back a little bit. Because to understand what's happening right now with Shedeur Sanders, you have to understand what he walked into. This wasn't a kid who slipped into the league quietly. He didn't get to ease in. He was Colorado's starting quarterback, Deion Sanders' son. And everything that came with those two things, the cameras, the expectations, the circus, followed him every single day of his life before he ever threw a single professional pass. People had an opinion on Shedeur before he even walked into an NFL building. Some of it was respect, a lot of it wasn't. The criticism came fast, and it came hard. Too flashy, too confident, carries himself like he's already made it, rode his dad's coattails to the spotlight, doesn't have the arm, can't read the NFL defense, was a product of a system built around him. You've heard it all. And here's the thing, when a player gets that kind of noise around them, one of two things happens. Either it breaks them or it builds them into something different, something harder.
We got to start with this right here because people are about to do a lot of backpedaling. People are going to try to act like it never happened. Look at what G. Bush said. Media did wall-to-wall coverage of Sorsby for a month. Just for the NFL to skip the supplemental draft altogether. I'm waiting for the media pivot. It's coming. Nothing here to see. Sorsby was a long shot, was always a long shot. Browns were never interested. Let the gaslighting begin. That's what you are about to see. Anthony Lima's going to be.
Cleveland is a tough sports city. Always has been. These fans have been through things that most fan bases will never understand. Years of heartbreak, years of almost. Decades of waiting on the right guy at the most important position in football. So when Shedeur's name started getting linked to the Browns, the reaction was mixed. That's probably the nicest way to put it. Local radio was losing its mind. Anthony Lima on 92.3 The Fan had opinions, loud ones. Ken Carman had opinions, loud ones. And none of those opinions were leading to the same place. Some people were saying, give the kid a shot. Others were saying, over my dead body. In that divide, that very real, very loud divide inside the Cleveland media landscape told you everything about where Shedeur Sanders sits in the public conversation. He's not a neutral topic. He never has been. Here's what the criticism actually was, though, because some of it was fair. The concern wasn't always about his arm or his IQ. The concern was about trust. Could you trust him with a franchise? Could you trust that what happened in college, the viral moments, the fashion, the personality, wasn't going to become a distraction in a city that desperately needs stability at quarterback?
Doing this in real time. This isn't real time. When I tell y'all, like, they want to go after anybody, it has never been about whether or not they think these guys are good, honorable franchise quarterbacks. It's about the referendum on Shedeur Sanders and his people. Ken is telling them.
And honestly, that's a real question. That's not a hater question. Organizations in the NFL have made that calculation wrong before. They bring in a guy with talent and noise, and they find out too late that the noise was louder than the talent. But here's what got lost in that conversation. Nobody was actually watching Shedeur play football. Go look at the tape. Forget who his dad is for 60 seconds and just watch the quarterback. At Colorado, in a program that was being rebuilt from the ground up, Shedeur Sanders was holding that offense together with pure football instincts. He was making reads under pressure. He was getting hit a lot and getting back up. He was putting the ball exactly where it needed to go in tight windows against defenses that were specifically designed to make him look bad. There were games where Colorado's offensive line gave him about as much protection as a screen door in a hurricane. And he stood in there. He took the shots. He made the throws. That doesn't get talked about enough because it's more entertaining to debate the personality than it is to actually study the film. Now, enter the Brendan Sorsby situation, and this is where things get genuinely interesting. For about a month, Cleveland media was locked in on Sorsby. Wall-to-wall coverage, every single show, like this kid was about to be the answer to the franchise's prayers. The supplemental draft was going to happen. The Browns were going to make a move. This was the moment.
Ain't interested in taking no flyers. We ain't interested in flying a flyer. If I'm going to take a flyer, I'm going to take a flyer on the dude that's already in my room. Let's roll. Oh, my goodness.
To look for
Which
the
is
next guy. I'm
considered
trying
the
to look
worst
for the
quarterback room in the NFL.
Yes, I understand that. You've thrown that in my face many times, and I get that, and I've never
We
disagreed
just
with you.
need to we need to find a way for Ken to ever actually like a quarterback.
Well, he actually just told you he liked the quarterback. You see?
The NFL shut it down. No supplemental draft. Sorsby was done before he ever got started. And just like that, the entire narrative around the Browns' quarterback situation got flipped upside down. The same media that had been spending weeks building up Sorsby, some of them are now going to have to figure out how to explain why they weren't paying attention to the guy who's actually on the roster, the guy who's actually in the building competing every single day, the guy whose name is Shedeur Sanders. Look, media cycles are fast and brutal. That's just the reality of the sports world. A story gets hot, everybody chases it, and then when it disappears, there's a collective kind of amnesia, like, oh, that wasn't really a serious conversation anyway. But people remember, fans remember, and players definitely remember. Shedeur Sanders has been in that building. He's heard all of it. The discourse online, the radio opinions, the think pieces. None of that happens in a vacuum when you're the subject of it. And if you think that doesn't fuel something in a competitor, you don't understand athletes. This is the part where Shedeur's personality actually becomes a strength instead of a storyline.
You guys are all set up. You guys are set up for tomorrow. You're ready to go. You guys might, after this, somebody call you out and say, look, you're ready to go. You're going to have everybody front row and center tomorrow. Ready to go. Let's get it. We're ready. We're ready for it. Let's get it. This is getting like WCW right now. This is getting like...
Because the thing that critics point to, the confidence, the unbothered energy, the way he carries himself, that same thing is what keeps a young quarterback from getting swallowed alive by an environment like Cleveland. A lesser personality would crumble under that pressure. A guy who wasn't wired a certain way would walk into OTAs with the weight of public doubt on his shoulders and not be able to function. Shedeur Sanders doesn't seem to work that way. He operates from a place of belief, real belief, not the performed kind, the kind that comes from having worked when nobody was watching, from having competed at a high level under massive scrutiny, and coming out the other side still standing. His father is Deion Sanders. You think growing up in that house doesn't teach you something about how to handle the spotlight? And here's where we need to be honest about what's actually happening in Cleveland right now. The quarterback room is open. The competition is real. And with the Sorsby situation completely off the table, Shedeur is not just a player in the building, he's the conversation. Week 1 is not a guarantee. Nothing in the NFL ever is. But the path that just opened up is different than it was a month ago. Quieter, less crowded. When outside noise disappears and it becomes just about football, that is exactly the environment where a player like Shedeur Sanders can make his case, without the distraction of a supplemental draft looming, without Sorsby dominating the headlines. Just reps, just film, just competition. That's a better situation for him than most people are willing to admit right now. If you've been watching this story and you felt something, whether you're rooting for him or you're skeptical, you're not alone. This channel covers stories that the mainstream either gets wrong or ignores completely. If that matters to you, hit subscribe. We're going to keep tracking where this goes. The expectations on Shedeur are still enormous. That doesn't change. Cleveland fans don't do patience well, and honestly, why should they? They've been waiting long enough. But expectations built on honest evaluation are fair. Expectations built on noise aren't, and a lot of what's been thrown at Shedeur Sanders has been noise. Loud, constant, exhausting noise. Here's what cuts through all of it, though. A win. A game, a drive late in the fourth quarter when it matters. That is the only currency that matters in this league. Everything else, the family name, the media drama, the Sorsby saga, the radio debates, the Twitter arguments, none of that matters when the ball is snapped. Shedeur Sanders has not played a single meaningful NFL snap yet. That is the truth. Nobody actually knows what he's going to be at this level. But here's another truth. The people who dismissed him never really gave him a fair look, and the situation just shifted in a way that forces a fair look, forces the conversation to be about what he does on a football field instead of what people assume about him off of one. Cleveland needed a quarterback. The shortcuts didn't work, the outside solutions fell apart, and the kid who was already in the room, already doing the work, already competing, he's still there. Maybe that's the story. Maybe that's always been the story. We just weren't paying close enough attention to see it. Claude Fable 5 is currently unavailable.